How's everybody doing? And here are my thoughts on Bumblebee. No longer Transformers. No more Michael Bay. Before I begin with my thoughts, this is kind of one of those movies that I've always wanted to check out. Now, when I was younger, maybe about 2 or 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, if I'm going to be exact, I always wanted to see this movie. I saw trailers, I saw TV promotions for it back on Nickelodeon. Anyways, I would see promotions for it, and I was like, hey, that actually looks good. And then I found out it was coming out on Blu-ray, and I asked my dad, I was like, hey, can I have this? And it was around right Easter, and he got it for me. And it was just sitting on the table that morning. I woke up, it was just sitting on the table. Yeah. And then I wanted to watch it, but I took off the sleeve, I took off the plastic wrap off of it, I put the sleeve back on, and I put in these. I have like a little pile over here. It's like every time I watch a movie, I just put like in a pile, and it just sat there. It's just sat there for a month, and then when we were putting movies away, I put in the bees, and it just sat there. It sat there for months. It sat there for days. It sat there for months, and then it sat there for years, and I just never bothered to watch it. I don't know why. Maybe the fact that I wasn't the biggest fan of Transformers, and I just thought because this is part of the same universe as the Michael Bay Transformers movie. Maybe I just thought I just wouldn't like it. I don't know why I never watched it, and but I finally got to check it out. And what do I think? Here are my thoughts on them. Starting off with my positives on Bumblebee is I like the new character of Charlie. She is played by the person who plays Hawkeye's daughter in Hawkeye show, and she also voices Spider-Gwen in Into the Spider-Verse, Across Spider-Verse, and the soon-to-be-coming Beyond the Spider-Verse. I think that her character in this movie is pretty good, where she has like and like especially like the relationship she has with Bumblebee, which is very similar to Sam and Bumblebee in the first movie, but I feel that it's done better in this movie, but I like the Charlie character because she is a character that just lost her dad from a heart attack, and she's still getting over it, but her mom has moved on and married this new guy. She doesn't really talk to this new guy because she doesn't want him to be replacing her dead father, which I think we can all agree to if we've lost a loved one like that. But I like the character because, like, especially like the little friendship she has with Bumblebee is because she finally has a new friend who, after her father died, she finally found a new friend and she doesn't really talk to anyone. She works at the carnival, people bully her. She sees that all these pretty and hot girls are always getting the guy, and she never gets it because she is kind of like isolated herself in this whole world, and she's been trying to like fix this car her and her father would fix because that was kind of like their bonding. They would fix a car together, and she's kind of like promoted her life just to fix this car because she feels if she does not do it, then she's basically failed her father. That's why I like this Charlie character because she's just so a relatable character. I don't know why, and then she has like a character arc in this movie where she starts out as kind of boring and sad, which we all understand, but then she grows throughout the movie because of Bumblebee, and like I said, with the relationship between them, because since she lost her father, she has like a new like father figure for her from Bumblebee, who's like her best friend at after a while, which I like. I just love this Charlie character, and I wish they were bringing her back, but no, they decided to reboot the franchise again. For this movie being set in the 80s, I felt they did a pretty good job at using it, especially with like the clothes that people are wearing. Like you could tell it's very 80s, and I don't know why, but the way it was shot, I felt that it was that it felt like it was in the 80s. I don't know why. Maybe for someone who loves like 80s movies and music, they did pretty good, especially the music in this movie, the soundtrack is just amazing. Every single piece of soundtrack used in this movie, it just fit every tone. Like especially when Bumblebee would turn into a car and when she fixed the radio and where he could play music, and then he would play like catchy songs like what's that one song? Turn your back on Mother Nature one. Everybody wants to rule the world song, and there's even like a Never Gonna Give You Up little cameo. And I thought I got a good chuckle out of that one, where she puts the Rick roll into the thing, and then it starts playing Never Gonna Give You Up, and he spits it out. I got a pretty good chuckle out of that one. I think that the 80s that they utilize the 80s setting pretty good. I also like the 80s setting, and especially they utilize that soundtrack just perfectly, and it felt like it was 80s. Like seeing John Cena in this movie. He was like another reason that I wanted to watch this movie for. back when this movie first came out is when I was kind of in my wrestling phase, where I would watch wrestling like every Monday, Tuesday, if and not Tuesday anymore. I went to Friday, and I would watch every pay-per-view. And I knew about John Cena, and that was kind of like my wrestling phase, where I just kind of wanted to watch a bunch of movies with wrestlers in it. Regretted some of it. Anyways, I like seeing John Cena in this movie. He's not the best actor in the world. I think everyone could agree to that. He's not the best actor, but he plays this part where he plays like a cop where he's trying to like kidnap Bumblebee because the evil Autobots kind of convinced all the humans that he's the evil one. They're the good ones, and they're just here to protect him, even though we all know that's bullshit. John Cena, he does a pretty good job, and for someone who's a big wrestling fan, I like seeing him in it, and I'm glad to see that. Like I mentioned that in my Fast and Furious franchise reviews, where The Rock and John Cena and all that showed up. Go watch those. If you haven't watched it, what the fuck are you doing with your time, right? But it's nice just to see him in this. Kind of like a small negative that I noticed, and it mostly goes to Optimus Prime. So I like the new designs of the Autobots. Now they're more comic accurate. Sure, comic, more like action figure accurate, and like the '80s TV show that I still have not watched. I think they redesigned them pretty good to detail like Optimus Prime. Like we'll see him every now and then, and I like the design that was more accurate to the action figure in the TV show that was made. I really like that. That's kind of like a small positive that I noticed, but the smallest things are the biggest things in movies some days, right? I don't know. Like how this movie is kind of like a prequel, but at the same time it doesn't feel like a prequel. It feels more like a spin-off than it does. This movie is set in 1987. And those Transformers movies did not come out till 2005, 7, 11, 14, 17, then 18. I liked how they kind of showed what happened to Bumblebee. Like, we kind of got hints of it in the first movie and some of the franchise, like when the Autobots first showed up, Jesus. Like when, excuse me, like when the Autobots first came to Earth, how Bumblebee lost his voice, how he learned how to talk through the radio, how he kind of learned how to turn into a car and like disguise himself. They show that pretty good, like how Charlie like shows like Bumblebee's like, hey, if anyone but you sees me, what do you do? And he like learns how to turn into a car. If anyone but her doesn't see, like anyone but Charlie, Bumblebee is like normal. And when everyone else sees Bumblebee, turns into a car. And he learned that from Charlie. And but I don't know why I felt that the character of Charlie sometimes I felt that was kind of weird because we've never heard of her in this franchise from Bumblebee. But yet again, this is a brand new story and all that. But it's a small nitpick. And I just like seeing that how like the Autobots first came to Earth, how Bumblebee lost his voice, basically everything I just said. I like that. Moving on to my mixed. Is the comedy. Now, there's some moments that got me to laugh, especially like that Rick Roll moment, but I've said this a few times throughout this franchise. It doesn't always land, but it got a few chuckles out of me, and I laughed a few times, and again, doesn't always work, but I got a few laughs. I thought this movie was pretty good. This was a step up of the franchise. It didn't. You could tell that this movie was made by Michael Bay, and I'm glad because if this movie was made by Michael Bay, it wouldn't be as good. I really like this movie. It was a fun time. I would recommend that you would go out and buy it. What do you guys think of Bumblebee? Is this your favorite of the franchise? Is this your least favorite franchise? Let me know in the comments below what you think about this movie, and we will talk about it. If you like this video, like it. If you loved it, subscribe and hit the bell notification so you will get notified for my latest videos. But until my next video, take care.